Hi everybody, Joe Mineo here. As you can see, we're starting to decorate our tree for the holidays. I'm a little bit behind. Usually I like to do it right after Thanksgiving, but we're just a little behind because we're decorating everybody else's house in the world, but that's okay. So, a couple years ago, Gary and I bought this mid-century home. It was built in 1959. And the house that we had before this home was a very contemporary home, very sleek, very clean looking. And I decorated the tree that was very specific to the look of the room, right? It had a lot of crystal and gold, and it was a very decorative tree that matched my interior. When we bought this house, I knew that I wanted to do a tree that looked like we were growing up in 1959. The tree that I actually grew up with was very traditional, very vintage, and that's what we've decided to do over the last couple years, and that's what we're going to be doing today. And we thought it would be really great to show you how we start and how we're going to end with the whole design. So starting off with an artificial tree is what I've done for many, many years. I haven't had a fresh tree since I've been a little boy. I like the idea of an artificial tree because it's so much easier to work with. Remember, the whole tree is wire. So when you're working on a tree, you can bend and twist and get it to do what you want it to do, where obviously you can't do that with a fresh tree. So what we did is we started off with this really great quality tree. What I like about this tree is if you notice that all the branches come out very long, the laterals come out, and then you have a lot of depth. Rather than this tree being very, very formed, it makes it look a little bit more natural. So if you notice, this is a pre-lit tree, which means it has all of those small regular Christmas lights on it. What we're doing is we're going to be adding more lights to this pre-lit tree. The lights that you see here, these are actually just those outdoor garden lights that you buy at Target. In fact, that's where I got these. I like this because I like the round shape of the bulb rather than the traditional teardrop shape, flame shape. So we're adding those onto our tree, and then we're going to be adding those traditional light bulbs that we remember so many years ago, right? These do get a little bit warmer, so we're a little careful with those. We're going to be adding those also into our tree. And how can you have a 1959 tree without having the traditional bubble lights, right? I'm sure many of you guys remember this. So what we're doing is we're taking those Target lights I mentioned to you, we're taking that bulb out and we're just replacing it with the bubble lights, and we're going to be adding those on. So think about it. You've got your traditional pre-lit lights, you've got the large bulb lights that we got from Target, you've got the bubble lights, and you've got the old-fashioned colored lights. So before we even start decorating this tree, we've really created this vintage look just starting off with the lights, and then we're going to start layering things on. I wanted to show you, we're going to step over here, I wanted to show you some of the ornaments that we're going to be using. So when we were growing up, my dad was really not a very creative person, but he loved the holidays, and that was something where he would splurge on. He was a beautician, so I guess he was a little crafty, right? He was a beautician for 33 years downtown Youngstown in the Parkade. And in the Parkade, many of you might remember that McKelvey's was downtown, the large department store, which then turned into Strauss's, which then turned into Strauss. And these ornaments that you're seeing here actually came from McKelvey's. When we bought our house, the year I was born, 1964, my dad had purchased a lot of these really beautiful vintage ornaments. And when my dad passed and we sold that house, my brothers and sisters and I all shared several of the different ornaments. So this is just one of them. So it's really special that some of these vintage ornaments are on our tree. But what I did was, when I went to market shopping for our retail store something new, I then went ahead and looked for ornaments that felt very vintage also. So what I'm doing is I'm mixing originals along with some that are actually new, but they are vintage visually, right? Or they look very vintage. You can see here this type of thing. You're seeing a lot of this antique looking ornaments that I think are really, really fun. And you would never know that this wasn't original. I like the idea of going to vintage stores and finding real vintage ornaments from the 50s, not original to me and my family, but they're still original. I like that idea, and picking those up as we travel Gary and I around, we always like to stop and try to find some cool things to put on our tree. So one of the other ornaments I just want to show you real quick is the indented ornament. This was very, very 1950s, where it's a very round ornament, but then that embedded design that's inside. But these are brand new. We just bought these last year and they're kind of cool. But when you see the tree at the end, when we're going to be showing you the final product of what we've done, you'll see how it all kind of works together. And it really is very, very special. What I find is when we do have holiday parties, so many of our guests come in and it kind of takes their breath away because it really brings back those great memories. And so many of us don't have this old-fashioned tree anymore. We're doing what I used to do, right? Doing something that really works with our home. So this just brings back a lot of memories. And now that I'm doing this kind of tree, I don't know if I'd ever go back to something different. So in a little bit, we're going to be showing you how we're developing the tree, and soon you'll see the final product. So stay tuned. Hi everybody, so here we are, final product, right? My team's been working on the tree all day because I've been busy working on some other events that we've got coming up, and they've been really doing a great job. They know exactly the way I like it. A couple of things I just want to mention to you of what we've done that makes the tree a little bit unique is, if you notice, we've added these great sprays. These are actually almost like a wired berry. They're kind of crystallized. Anything that has a nice strong wire like this will work, because what we're planning on doing is adding those into the tree coming away from the branches, and I'm just going to grab an ornament. And what's really great about this is when you add ornaments to these sprigs that you've added, it lets you bring the ornaments away from the center of the tree. So all of the ornaments on the perimeter kind of feel like they're floating. And that's a really great way to get depth in your tree, especially when a lot of your branches aren't extra long. If you notice, like I mentioned earlier, we used our bubble lights right there. That really gives us the movement we're looking for. And if you notice, we have a lot of ornaments that are tucked way down into the tree. It's really important that you think about the depth of the tree just as much as the outer branches of the tree. That's what's really going to give you depth and interest to the design. Like I mentioned before, most of these ornaments don't match. And that's what I like about this vintage tree, because when we grew up years ago, it was a lot of onesies here and there, and that's what I really focused on when buying the product for the tree. We've mixed in a lot of different things. Here's another type of branch. This is almost a mother of pearl, and the only reason I'm using it is because I want another texture rather than having nothing but ornaments. So I really think it's a beautiful tree. Now, if you notice, the one thing that I'm missing is tinsel, right? I'm going to have tinsel. For some reason, I can't seem to find the tinsel I bought last year. I found it at a great thrift store down in Cleveland called Sweet Lorraine's. It was rather expensive because they don't make metal tinsel anymore, the original. They make it out of plastic now. But there is definitely something different with the real metal. So I'll find it and I'll be able to add on to it. And when I start adding the tinsel on, I'll be adding it 1 and 2 pieces of tinsel at a time. That's what's giving you the delicate look. You never want to add your tinsel on in groupings because it looks a little heavy. But that's kind of it. I'm really happy with the design. Like I mentioned earlier, it really puts a smile on people's face when they walk in and they see this, because it really kind of makes your heart sing when it brings back so many great memories. So this is just what I did this year for my tree. Hopefully you're being inspired to do something great with your tree.